Join with me in a word of prayer. May this holy season be for each of us a time of moving beyond what is reasonable and toward the star of wonder. Moving beyond grasping tight to what we have, to unclenching our hands and letting go. Following the light where it leads. Moving beyond competition toward cooperation, seeing that all humans are our siblings. Moving beyond the anxiety of small concerns towards the joys of justice and peace. May the transforming acceptance of Mary and Joseph, the imagination of the shepherds, and the persistence of the wise men guide us as we seek the truth, always moving toward the divine promise, always aware that God can be hidden in the frailest among us, and always open to the unexpected flash of grace, to the showing forth of that love that embraces us all. May we have our ears and hearts open to all that God has for us. Amen. Epiphany is a time of Christ's manifestation in the world. It's a time of growth for us as Christians and a time of shining forth the light of Christ who came to the earth. And I just want to take just a minute and recognize somebody who I think fits this time. Our congregant, Wendy Lachance, has been the main person working with the Rotary Africa Youth Foundation for the past 2 years now, and helped establish MCC Kampala. Started out with the foundation and grew into the church, and now they have such an outreach that they have, 40, 50 children easily that they also minister to and care for. It has just continued to just blossom. She was recently given the International Community Service Award. And there's some photos in the bulletin and online, if you keep up with that online. Her passion to share Christ is a blessing to us. And we're so proud of the work that you are doing there and glad to be part of it as Church of the Trinity. We just want to say thank you, and we are certainly proud of you. So Bonnie, I might be in a little trouble, but I'm going to take a chance. Living on the edge, I'm only here for another month. That's a great thing. Today is Epiphany. It's a great thing. Epiphany is a celebration of the manifestation of Christ to the Gentiles. The wise men from the east, coming as non-Jews to bow down and to worship the infant Jesus, bringing with them their gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. This morning I want us to think about the journey that the wise men made. We often sing about it. Guys sang about it just now. We've read the story. And what is there for us to take from that story and apply to our lives today? The story is a bit shrouded in mystery. If we follow the biblical account, we don't have much information. There are lots of unanswered questions. How many were there, really? We don't really know. Where did they come from? Well, from the east somewhere. Nothing specific. How long they traveled? We don't even really know that. They showed up mysteriously, and then just as mysteriously, they're gone, right? So with all that mystery and lack of detail, what can we really say about them? Well, I want to think about 4 things to do with their journey to Jesus. First of all, the wise men made a journey of faith. They traveled from their home in Bethlehem to find Jesus. What would prompt someone to leave the comfort of their own home to go on a journey, not knowing where they would end up? Think about that. Well, maybe romance, huh? The internet connections, right? Some of you have done that, I know. Maybe wealth. We might be enticed by wealth. But faith? These wise men, they set out in faith on a journey to find the king that they believed had been born. They'd seen the evidence. The star was there. And they had faith that he was alive, that he existed because of that star. All they had to do was find him. And these men were willing to give up everything to find him. They were willing to leave the safety and security of their homes to go on a journey. Can you imagine their family's reaction? Oh, you're going on a journey? Yes, I am. Well, where are you going? Well, I don't really know. Well, how far is it? Well, I don't really know that either. Well, how long are you going to be away? Well, I'm not certain about that either. Well, for wise men, you don't know a lot, right? I'm sure how we call them those wise men. But faith means going on a journey, doesn't it? Of venturing forth, taking a journey to meet with Jesus. The wise men took their gifts and they offered them in their life, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They bowed down in the presence of Christ and they worshipped him. The wise men had to meet Jesus and had to go on this journey. It was part of what they were called to do. And that was Herod's mistake. He wanted the wise men to go in his place and search. And only when he found out exactly where Jesus was, would he then go himself. The story of faith, the story of our own faith, is the story of a journey. We can all know facts about Jesus, and we can know the Gospels by heart, but like the wise men, we need to see him for ourselves, to bow down in adoration, and to offer ourselves to him. We all have to go on that faith journey. I believe that. And we all find Jesus in different ways, don't we? I'm grateful that there's not just one way and one path to Jesus. That it takes us on sometimes the journey of our lives, doesn't it? I know that it did for me. And as MCC people, our journey is often complicated, isn't it? Some more than others. Absolutely. And I know for me that my sexual orientation led me on a journey that I would have never had to go on had I been born someone else. And for that, I am ever so grateful. I'm grateful. I had to get inside the scriptures and study them about what they really said for my life. It's one thing to have a relationship with God through Christ. It's another to dig it out, isn't it? It really is. To be able to understand who God is to you and what Jesus has for your life and how the Holy Spirit speaks to you and moves in and through your life and changes you and transforms you. It's a great journey, isn't it? But it is a journey that we have to have faith to take. The whole life is a journey. It's a continuous pilgrimage, growing in our faith, learning more, deepening our spirituality and knowledge and understanding of God and who God is to us. It's not a one-time trip, is it? It's a continuous journey. And you and I have to stay on that journey of faith. The second thing is that it was a journey of risk. If the journey to Jesus was a journey of faith, it was also a pretty risky journey. The land where Jesus was born was dangerous, just as it is today. Bethlehem has always been a turbulent place, a violent place, a dangerous place for anyone who is traveling. And King Herod got very nervous and jealous when he heard that there was a new king on the horizon, and a new king had been born. He thought this new king was a rival to him, so he wanted to figure out where he was and eliminate him, right? That's what his plan was. So it was dangerous for these wise men 2,000 years ago as they became Herod's pawns in this deadly game. Imagine the horror when they discovered how Herod used the information that they gave him. as he made the decision to have all Israeli newborn sons killed, an act of brutality. The wise men traveled in hope, but they traveled at great risk. The Christian faith is a journey that can involve risk. Risk that when we stand up for truth and righteousness, when we stand up and are counted for our faith and our beliefs, we are laughed at, rejected, scorned, and sometimes tortured and killed. And if that happens, we're not the first, are we? Jesus suffered himself and ended up on a cross. The early Christians suffered great persecution as they were seen as a threat. And down the years, Christians in various parts of the world have suffered. In Russia, in China, and elsewhere where they've been driven underground just because they are Christians. I know that Chaplain Dennis with our church in Kampala has had to go underground. I mean, we have no comprehension of that, do we? But there are people that are in danger because of their faith, because they are Christians. There's story after story of people being harassed, tortured, and murdered for their faith. The Center for the Study of Global Christianity, it's an academic research center. It monitors worldwide demographic trends in Christianity. And they estimate between the years of 2005 and 2015 that 900,000 Christians were martyred. Can you believe that? 900,000. An average of 90,000 Christians each and every year. We can't even wrap our minds around that. But we do know what it's like to be discriminated against. We do. We know what it's like to live in a world that doesn't really like us sometimes. When I served as pastor in Lubbock, since I got Lubbock people in the house today, there was a group of Fred Phelps followers. We're very familiar with them. They're very homophobic and kind of against everything, almost really. Anti-American, all kinds of things. But they came to protest at one of our high schools because they wanted to have a gay-straight alliance. And while they were in Lubbock, they filled out their form and they protested in several places. And we made the list. And they came to our church during worship, and they had their signs and their flags and stuff that they carry around. And it was sad. But they came during worship, they marched outside, and we just sang and carried on like nobody's business. We had a full house in worship that day. We opened our doors to the entire community to a baked potato luncheon. Now, and because of that, we had tons and tons and tons of people come. They might have gone to their church, but then they came to us because they were supporting us. They were right there with us. They wanted to make their presence known. That in droves, this little tiny church in Lubbock, Texas, who had about 100 and some members, all of a sudden there were 300 people just gathered around eating baked potatoes. We felt supported and loved by the community of Lubbock. But it can be risky making a journey, can't it? You can. We may risk our friends, our families, our jobs, if we're not too much of a believer or talk about Jesus a little bit too much, Somebody might not quite want to be around all of that. But we too, like the wise men, are often taking great risks to meet Jesus and to worship him. Now, the third piece is when the wise men took their journey to Jesus, it was one of worship. They took gifts full of symbolism. And when they arrived at the house of the infant Jesus, they offered these gifts: gold for a king, frankincense for worship, and myrrh was a fragrant perfume to anoint, to embalm, and to preserve the dead. These gifts were offered to Jesus as they bowed down in awe and in wonder. For us, too, the journey of faith is a journey of worship, a journey on which we give ourselves to God daily, bowing down in awe and in wonder and adoration. As we do offer our gifts, all that we have and all that we are, to God, to use as God pleases. We have many gifts as a church, and those gifts are to be given to God to build up the church and to build up the body of Christ together. If you haven't filled out your covenant card, you still got time. It's the beginning of the year. And we're asking you to covenant with God through Church of the Trinity, to give back a little bit about what God has given and blessed you with. Finally, they were on a journey of change and transformation. After visiting Jesus, offering their gifts and their worship, they traveled home by another route. Meeting with Jesus changed them, transformed them. And that's a common theme when you have an encounter with God. God changes things and changes people. And God changed those wise men. Remember Jacob wrestled with God and was never the same again? Remember Isaiah stepped into the presence of God. And he said, "Woe to me, I am undone, person of unclean lips." And he was never the same again. Job, he questioned God over and over again about all of the suffering. And when God speaks to him, Job is speechless, full of awe and wonder, and words failed him. He met God and was changed. And that's what happens when we walk in the presence of God. We are changed. When wise people encounter Jesus, they're changed and things become different. I wonder this morning, having been with God here in worship, that we're changed, that we're transformed, refreshed, and made new. We have a new year start. Now, if you wrote something this week with 2019 in it, it felt weird, didn't it? You know, it's just a reminder that, well, here we go. We're in another new year. Maybe you've made some goals or resolutions, you know, for this next year. What you want to do, and what you want to be, and what you want to see. It's a good and great thing to look forward to, isn't it? We need to be changed and renewed, not just at the first part of the year, but every single day of our journey. And we must, like the wise men, continue that journey, to know that it's a journey of faith, a journey in which we can bow down and worship God and give God our gifts. That's what the journey is about. The wise men journeyed to Jesus in faith. They took a risk. They journeyed to worship, and they returned a different way because their journey had led them to a meeting with Jesus, which changed and transformed their lives. When we meet Jesus every day, we should be refreshed and renewed and transformed. And as we meet the Christ child, we journey in faith in 2019. May we be changed. May we be the change that we want to see in the world today and always. May God bless you in 2019. Amen.